where the sky has been tumbling around my ears and I've had to focus myself, which is not something, I do particularly easily. All right. It's now 2 weeks, give or take a day or two, since the earth-shaking revelations of David Grush. Remember him? The man who made worldwide headlines, not nearly enough of them, by essentially saying that he was working for the U.S. military. And he is a 14-year Afghanistan veteran. We talked about his bona fides here. A lot of people stood up for him, backed him up, verified he was what he said he was, and he is what he says he is. Basically telling us, in no uncertain terms, that the U.S. has been back engineering crashed craft. Maybe aliens have been involved in the mix too. It's been going on for decades. It's been done in secret, and we haven't been told about it. Here comes a quote from my friend Jeremy Corbell, investigative journalist and filmmaker and all-round good egg man, who's partly behind the Weaponized podcast, which I recommend you check out. This is what he said this week. The world is creaking under the stress and weight of the UFO reality, and it's about damn time. Well, it's about damn time. We talked with Jeremy Corbell about this. Jeremy, thank you so much for making time for me. How are you?
I'm great, Howard. How you doing, man?
I'm all right. The heat's getting to us. Can you tell? The heat's getting to us a bit here in London. We've got like 90 degrees here. It's like the savannah. But we're fine. Nice. But it might make me go a little crazy. I've got to warn you. So look, Jeremy, let's just, before we get into the principal revelation that you have for me tonight, and thank you for doing this, where are we at this point in time in what Steve Bassett called on this show a few weeks ago, summer of disclosure, summer of revelation? Is that where we're at?
Look, I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not going to make predictions, but what I can tell you is what's happened. So George Knapp and I obtained and released a new document from Canada. And this document was from an individual within, the system of government there that brought it forward to their defense minister and identified a program that is multinational. So this is a UFO exploitation program housed under a foreign materials program, a Five Eyes, as they say, which is like 5 countries that work together. This is the closest thing I've ever seen to an admission. They're basically saying, look, we have this reverse engineering program, and I'll just tell you, Canada found one of theirs. That's why this letter was written. This letter wasn't written out of a void. And this is Larry Maguire, and he's basically saying, we need to get ahead of this, that there's a number of countries that seem to be getting ahead of this, and we need to not lose the trust of the Canadian public. So for me, that was huge. That was a huge revelation. We were able to obtain and release it. It's been around a little bit, but nobody saw it. So that was really neat. And then additionally, this is the kind of bombshell, really, was just yesterday, new legislation was approved, bipartisan, and it was approved unanimously. And what this legislation says, I want to break it down for people. This is the Senate Intelligence Committee. They're saying, look, it's carrot and stick situation for these illegal UFO reverse engineering of non-terrestrial or off-world craft. And they're saying, look, you need to, 1, tell us, or it is illegal. So all UAP research and development is now illegal, right? So this is the stick. The carrot is it makes you be able, like a historical acknowledgement of UAP exploitation. Currently, it makes it okay if you acknowledge it. They really have 60 days once this is set in law to notify the U.S. government that they have in their possession these materials or craft, and then they have 180 days to literally show them the goods. Now, this isn't law yet. So that's the thing. Like, how are you going to, make this happen? Is the FBI going to go raid Lockheed Martin?
Exactly.
We don't know yet.
Well, we don't. I mean, look, I'm reading some of the stuff that you put out, and it is bombshell stuff, and I recommend people check it out. But, we're doing it here for them anyway. And let's just put it very clearly, Jeremy. It puts, I'm quoting here, official restrictions on any funding associated with UAP technologies and mandates compulsory reporting by U.S. industry of any UAP-related holdings to ensure there is congressional oversight. Now, there are many ways to make that happen. You can have all kinds of legal sanctions. You can threaten to send the boys in. But the way that tends to work in my country, and definitely in yours, the money. That's the thing, isn't it?
That is the thing. And so, look, on one side, this is an apparent attempt to provide amnesty to companies that, comply with this legislation. But if you don't comply, you get no money. And so that's going to stop these programs, which would be a real tragedy. But the bigger tragedy would be if this illusion, this secret, these lies continue to be told to the American and global public. But I mean, I just want to put it really clearly to everybody right now. It is acknowledged that there is a Five Eyes UFO exploitation program.
Which includes, we just got to make it clear for our viewer here, that is us. That's the Canadians, that's the Australians, that's you in America, that's us in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is just for people that don't know the Five Eyes, right? This is Australia, New Zealand, US, UK, and what's the last one I'm forgetting? Canada.
Canada. Let's not forget Canada.
No, but they made the omission. I mean, that's what's so cool. So essentially, this acknowledgement of the Five Eyes Foreign Material Program as housing one of these UFO programs. Again, Canada found the UFO program. They found one of them. So this is really bombshell news. And for people not tracking it, the world is changing. You have legislation being put into place to expose these UFO programs. This is a reality, and consensus reality needs to catch up to it. It's kind of like that movie, Don't Look Up, where people have been saying for a long time, this is what's going on. So now finally people are starting to see the writing on the wall. And I believe we're closer than ever to really getting to the core of the issue, which is that if there are craft of unknown origin not made here on Earth, then where are they made?
Exactly, and we would like to be knowing, and David Grush has taken us some of that way.
He has.
Are you hearing whether this legislation is getting any political traction here? In other words, it's one thing to say we are legislating, this is what we are going to mandate, and it's another thing for people to get behind it and actually make it happen.
Yeah, well, look, this is a bipartisan issue in the United States and really abroad, and it was unanimously passed. So, of course, there's got to be some adaptation of that language to be brought into law and signed by the president. However, this is just huge leaps and bounds. Like we can't, this is the biggest news story about UFOs that I've seen in a long time. So is there some sort of pressures that will try to diminish this language? Of course there is. This is the industries that are under pressure here. They'll lobby and try to create an environment where this won't be passed. However, I will tell you, there are people, good people in Senate, Congress, and within the intelligence community that want this information out, the fundamentals of this information. So to give you an example, look, we don't have to teach people how to make an atom bomb, but we can admit that that's been a program of ours for a long time. This UFO reverse engineering program or effort, because there are many programs that are hidden within the classified realm underneath legitimate programs. But this has been going on for more than 50 years. That's what was in that document, was they're talking about this has been going on. You can even find whispers of it publicly for more than 50 years. It's about damn time.
It is. And I hope it's going to happen. Problem with all of this stuff, isn't it? And we both know this, Jeremy, is that a lot of these programs have happened under so-called black ops budget. In other words, you don't have to say what you're using the money for. It is all hidden. Can you be sure that even with this legislation, it will be unhidden?
Yeah, I mean, look, nothing is for sure. But with the revelations that came forward through David Grush, who, by the way, he came to me and George Knapp first. He came to us first And he was like, I am concerned about reprisal. So this was kind of the issue that was going on. That is true. You've seen those attempts on him, not just character assassination attempts. So there are people that want to come forward. There are witnesses with firsthand direct experience on the exploitation programs of non-terrestrial technology that are currently working within our intelligence communities and also kind of sub-projects. I have spoken with them. I have spoken with them for years. I've sent some of them to Arrow. This is like, to me, this is so clear what's going on. And to encourage those people to come forward in the right way, as David Grush did, right? Because Arrow did not exist at that time. These ways to come forward did not exist at that time. So now all these other people have and will continue to come forward if we treat whistleblower protections through the Presidential Protections Act 19 or whatever it is, if we treat people right, and if it is a successful information that is put forward, then other people will come forward. I already know that they have.
And this new law, does this mean that if I'm working, I don't know, in one of the great American states, and I've set up the Howard Hughes Corporation, that's this Howard Hughes, not the billionaire Howard Hughes, who's already got a corporation, even though he's no longer with us, it's still there and it's still successful. But, you know, say the Howard Hughes Corporation, okay, I admit it, I've been getting money, I've been back engineering stuff for the last 5 years, and this is what I've done. Am I then required to admit it? Otherwise the money is going to stop coming. Is this what this means?
Yeah, that's kind of the thrust and the aim. And the reason this language was created this way is because we know for a fact that a lot of these exploitation programs, such as the reverse engineering programs, from whole craft to machinery to just pieces of metal, that all of this was sequestered over to what you'd call private industry, right? So if you're working on a program like that, it is illegal for them to not bring that forward. In fact, it is your duty to come forward and to express what's going on. And there's no criminal repercussions at all if you come forward. Now, will this be signed into law? That is the question. But you have to understand this language wasn't created in a void. It's created from a knowledge. They know where the goodies are at. They know where the holding facilities.
Otherwise, why do you, if you don't know what you're talking about, why phrase it like that?
Exactly. And so I think that should be a real wake-up call to the American public and also to your public in the UK. I think that people should look at this and understand this is actually being put forward because of knowledge, because of direct knowledge of what's going on.
And this guy in Canada, just very quickly, when I saw his name and I read what he was saying this week, it reminded me very much of the late Paul Hellyer, who, of course, was vilified in the media. I put him on air. I think I was the first to put him on air in the UK, talking about what he said that he had discovered and what he believed. And he was former Defence Minister of Canada. Do we think that Larry Maguire's going to get an easier time than Paul Hellyer got?
Well, it's a different world we live in. I knew Paul Hellyer, former Defense Minister of Canada, pretty well. We spent a lot of time together in Washington, D.C., and he had knowledge based on stuff that he's heard and that kind of thing. The difference with Larry Maguire is that he literally found, he was part of a group, and they found these UFO, a UFO program, a special materials program relating to UFO. I know that as a fact. So he has contact with firsthand direct eyewitnesses who worked in these programs. So that's the difference. The difference is really that this is a different era now where all this information is bubbling to the surface.
Last question, and I think you're doing fantastic work, and give George my best. You know, I'm a big fan of George and you. How are you getting all this stuff?
Right. Well, look, the trick to being trusted is to be trustworthy, and people have come forward to me, but also I have worked really hard. I have worked really hard to reach out, to speak with people, to try to get to the bottom of this, to learn the UFO exploitation names, which I've learned. And that's not just like in a day, that's over years. So really for me, why are people, or you said how, I'm going to answer why people are coming forward to me is because in order to tell secrets, sometimes you have to keep them. I intend to not harm any kind of national security, but to help this information and this movement come forward in the right and legitimate way. And people can trust that. And that's why they reach out to me.
Just in a word, do you think we're going to get disclosure this summer?
I don't know what that word means, Howard. Like, to me, disclosure has already happened. We're already having it. We're having the conversation. So I don't really know what that means. We're learning new stuff every day.
We are. And listen, thank you. I know how busy you are. So thank you very much for giving me your time, Jeremy. And I wish you all the very best with, yourself, your life, and this work that you're doing. And especially,
I appreciate you, Howard. Thank you.
Weaponized podcast, you and George Knapp. Two legends together. Well worth checking out. Along with The Unexplained on Talk TV.